Hello everybody, wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day it is. I hope that you're well. Bright blessings. Holistic Holly here for Tea and Tarot number 5. I hope that you've been enjoying this series so far. If you're new to it, you might want to go back after watching this episode and catch up with all the other teachings and things that have been taking place. So we have covered so much so far on this journey, and I just want to say I deeply appreciate you, for those of you that have been in for the ride, that have been engaging in these sessions, you know, that have been watching the replay, that are actually taking time to really dive in and explore this subject. You know, it's really fascinating. It's something that I am deeply, deeply passionate about. I'm sure you can tell. And so, you know, I'm just so pleased that my experience, my knowledge, the wisdom that I'm sharing is actually having a big impact. The messages I've been getting, the feedback from you guys, it's just been wow. It's been so wonderful. And I'm just, you know, just so glad that you're enjoying it. So thank you so much. I can see loads of people jumping on. I'm so happy that you're here. So if you're catching the replay, let me know in the comments, #replay. Let me know where you're watching from, if you're on the live or if you are catching up. Let me know where in the world you are, if you've been enjoying the series. If you have any questions, I did put it out there today, you know, that we are going to be covering stuff that we've missed so far in this series, as I've been, you know, trying to just teach you the basics and lay the foundations. So Janine sent me an incredible question, so I'm probably going to be starting with that today. But if anyone has got any questions, bang them in the comments below. Good morning, beautiful. Lovely to have you here. Thank you, Janine. Right, gosh, lots of people saying good morning. Hello. Hello, Jadine. Hello, Dalith. Hello, Paul. Good morning to you too, my darling. It's great to have you all here. Right, I've just got a message come through asking if I'm going live. Just jumped on. And myself. Right, so how's everyone getting on with the tarot practice? Have they been using the cards differently to how they were before? Have they really, you know, taken a different approach to it? I would love to hear. So the first session we covered the basics, what it is, what it isn't, and dipped into a few misconceptions and cleared that up for people. Talked about how it's a very powerful tool for your own spiritual development, healing journey, understanding who you really are, and also how to move forward. You know, it's about making the unknown known, bringing your subconscious happenings, musings, whatever's going on underneath the surface to your awareness, so you can work on it and work through it, to really help you understand yourself and what you need to do to move forward and to become ultimately your best version, your greatest version, the happiest version of yourself. So we then took a deep dive into the major arcana and explored every single archetype one by one, which actually took 2 sessions because it is so in-depth. And we took a comparison of 4 different decks to show the similarities and differences between them, but how the underlying character of that archetype, the underlying message and meaning, is the same throughout all versions of the tarot. And then we took a deep dive into the suits and what they mean and how to approach cup cards and look at symbols and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and answer some other questions. You know, one thing that I'm all about is using your intuition to read tarot. Forget what the book says. Forget going and studying symbols and going and studying, you know, how-to books and what have you. It's about using your own intuition, tapping into your own inner oracle, your own connection with the divine, and using that. And in that way, using these cards can really help you expand and explore your own awareness, your own consciousness, and really begin to trust your own intuition as you start to share what you're receiving and you get positive results from that. Or you really start using the cards for your own practice, but really start to see the coincidences / no such thing as coincidences. You really start to, you know, develop your trust in the universe. You start to develop your trust in your spirit team, your spirit guides, and it is a game changer. It's life changing. So So yeah, today we're going to go and cover a few things that we haven't covered yet. You know, starting with the question that I was sent about how to prepare for a reading before sitting down. You know, what do I do? What process do I go through? It might be handy to take some notes for that, or go back and catch the replay and take some notes after. I do talk very quickly. So you know, just tell me to slow down or hold up, or if there's anything that you want me to go through again, just let me know, okay? We're going to be looking at reverse cards, and we're going to be looking at how to ask the right questions, you know, the kind of questions that can be answered by tarot, the things that if you're asking, it's just going to confuse you and send you around in circles. So we're going to look at that. And there are a couple of other things I want to address, but we'll just see how long that takes for the first few questions. If there is anything else that you've thought of that, you know, that you would like to know, let me know. If there's anyone who, you know, wanted to catch this today and hasn't jumped on yet, maybe hasn't received the notifications, do tag them in the comments below so they can see that I'm live, because I know Facebook land is a busy world. Not everyone is getting the notifications coming through, so if you haven't already, just remember to turn them on, because I have got messages of people saying, oh, I missed your live, I didn't know you were on, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, just turn on post notifications. Oh, Shannon says bonjour from Virginia, USA. Hello, Shannon in Virginia, USA. It's really lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Julie says, hello, Holly. I'm really loving this. I'm so glad. Jadine says, I've started journaling and I've started using the tools and symbols to read other decks. It's absolutely amazing. And Paul says, breathe. I know, right? It's because I was rushing to get on because I was running late. I'm like a bit like, so breathe. Thank you, Paul. Bring my energy down a bit. Ground my energy down for a moment. Now that is amazing, Jadine, and it's absolutely true. I said in the first episode, you know, these methods that I use for teaching you to interpret symbols and to teach you to read tarot cards, you can use them for any type of divination. Any type of divination. You can even use it if you are already experiencing clairvoyance, and I know a lot of people in this group are, which is why you're here, which is why you're asking the questions, to make sure that you're not going crazy and to understand what's happening. You know, if you are already experiencing clairvoyance and you're being shown symbols either in dreams or in meditations, you know, these tools and techniques that I'm sharing, it helps you to understand those. It helps you to interpret those things. So you can use them for oracle cards. If you have a knowledge of runes and their meanings, you can use it for rune reading. If even, you know, paint reading, ink reading, sand reading, cloud reading, you know, tea leaf reading, it's all the same faculties, right? It's all the same thing. It's just the thing is with the tarot, and the reason why this is my focus with divination is because it is such a broad and detailed and very rounded system of symbols that covers, which, you know, I've mentioned in the previous ones, it covers every possible emotion and scenario in the human experience. So it leaves nothing out, and so it's so detailed, and it's wonderful in that way. But you can use this for all types of oracle cards, and everything, absolutely anything. So, you know, even if you wanted to kind of start creating your own system, like Paul, the artwork that you create, you could make some lovely divination tools, even without, you know, having to have the full spectrum of tarot. Like, gosh, even if you just had like 20 images, perhaps, you know, with the different elements in, or the different star signs, or, you know, just different messages as the focus, you know, you know, it's going to be really valuable. And the thing is, if you make them yourself, like with runes, if you make them yourself, which is such an easy thing to do, it's got your energy, it's got your prana, your life force in there. So you're going to find it much easier to work with, because you have a better understanding of what you're trying to convey and what you're trying to get across with those creations. Good morning, Julie. So lovely to have you here. Big heart to you too, Paul. Thank you so much. So yeah, without further ado, I don't want to stall anymore. Let's have a look at preparing for a reading. Now, there's someone outside, I've got the window open, cutting their grass. So let me know if that noise is bothering you, and I can go and shut the window. But I do like to get a bit of fresh air coming in, so just let me know if the noise is an issue. So, right, Julie says, my problem is when people ask me, when will I meet my soulmate, or relationship problems. I like this guy, does he like me, etc. Right, so, yeah, and you know, yeah, a lot of people do come for readings. This is something that I was going to talk about next week, actually, is the responsibility and the role of someone doing readings. And a lot of people do ask about their soulmate, and you know, when are they going to find them? Are they going to find them? You know, people want like solid answers, and you've got to go back to basics and say, look, this is the way I work with the tarot. It's not fortune telling. It's not predicting the future. Everything is, you know, really down to the free will and the actions taken by that person. But it's also very much, you know, it's like likely outcomes. It's not set in stone, anything that comes through. And I guess, you know, from my background, which is maybe a way that you could phrase this, Julie, is oh, you can't hear the mower. That's good. I'm glad, because it's quite loud. So one thing that I always say to people when they ask this question is that, look, you know, coming from my perspective and the way I work with the cards, because some people do say that they can predict the future and they do focus on love and relationships, you know, so, you know, that's not the kind of reading that I focus on. You know, from my background, you know, my healing background, and, you know, the intentions, which I'm going to go into in a moment, you know, it's about, like I've already mentioned, it's about making the unknown known. It's about making you aware of what you need to do for your own journey. And often the people that are looking for a soulmate, desperate for those questions, really, really kind of eager and needy to find a partner, to find their soulmate, it's often because they don't have enough love within themselves for themselves. Right? So what comes up in the reading then is all about the internal work they have to do. You know, often lots of swords cards coming up saying, you know, you've got to change the way you think about yourself, think about the world, you know, change your perspective. A lot of it's to do with healing wounds, letting go of the past. And a lot of that is what comes forward when people ask me the soulmates questions. Am I going to meet the man of my dreams or the woman of my dreams? So often what comes through from spirit then when I'm working with the cards is you've got to heal you and work on you in order for you to attract the person that you want, because at the moment, you know, you're not resonating at the vibration that's calling in your soulmate. So it's working on your own energy. So that's how I turn it around, and that's what it comes back to ultimately, is the energy that we're putting out there, you know. And you know, if we're putting out that energy of desperation, when am I ever going to find the one? I'm so unhappy by myself. It's like, well, you know, you're going to keep attracting that energy towards yourself. It's the law of resonance. So, you know, you just remind people of those universal and, you know, spiritual truths that, you know, what you put out, you attract back. So you need to work on loving yourself and making yourself whole before you can draw that person in. So it's just bringing it back around to them. Some people are happy with that. Some people are not. Well, they can go and find another reader at the end of the day. If someone wants to say that they can tell you matter-of-factly when that person's going to come into your life and how to attract them to yourself, you know, it's everyone else's conscience, right? But for me, you know, that's how I turn it around. Okay, so how does that sound, Julie? Is that something that you think that you can put through in those readings for people? It is something people ask about a lot. Paul said he started. I love that. You did one. Wow, you know, it's a task for lockdown. Maybe do some more. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm so glad. So back to the question that Janine asked, which is about preparing for a reading. And like I said, intention is everything. Okay, so for some of you are already familiar with my my ground center protect meditation, but I always start with, you know, centering myself, calling my energy into myself so I can focus my intention. Okay, and I am going to shut that window because it's distracting me, so hang on 2 seconds without knocking everything over. Okay, I'm back. Whoa, without everything falling over. Okay, So it's, yeah, so centering yourself, grounding yourself, you know, putting those layers of protection around, because when we are opening up our energy, and, you know, trying to open our third eye or crown chakra or whatever level that you're working at, you know, it is important to protect ourselves, and that's a whole subject for another day. So I draw my energy in, I put my protection around myself. We can talk about this if you have any questions about that. And then I go through a sequence of opening up my energy centers. Some of you know about that already. So opening those up and then calling in my spirit team to assist me. Okay, I ask that everything, I ask them to come forward and assist me with the reading, so that I am best able to help the person that I'm giving communication to as possible. I ask that they come forward with truth and love and sincerity to help guide, inspire, uplift, and empower the person that I'm doing the reading for. I ask them to help me articulate myself clearly in a manner that they'd understand, and then I ask, because I work on that level with spirit, you know, and not everyone does, so you take from this what you want to, and if you want me to hone it in a different way, then I can. And then what I do is I ask if my teammates, my spirit team, can go and collect anyone from the person's spirit team that would like to contribute and draw close and assist in giving the communication that person needs to hear, to help them with their greatest good, to help them overcome obstacles that they find themselves in, to help them find their own power and their own direction. Okay, so that's always my intention. And then I focus in on the questions. So I tend to have them already written down. I've got like a special notebook that I use, and I tend to have them written down already. Because writing them down, even if I have them on my phone, writing them down, again, it's putting that energy out to the universe, to the spirit world. This is what the person needs to know about. This is what the person is asking about. And sometimes we leave it open. Sometimes it's whatever that person needs for their greatest good at the time. And then what I do is I shuffle the cards. And I focus in. I focus in on, you know, anything that's coming through. Often, because I do work, with mediumship, psychic abilities, clairvoyance predominantly, but the other senses as well, which I was going to, talk about next week. Because I'm open to all these, I see what's coming in. I'm seeing what I'm feeling before I start to pull any cards. If any cards fall out at the time when I'm shuffling, I put them to one side because they're very important. And then, I start to give what is coming through. So if I'm seeing anything, sensing anything, I start to say that. Then I focus in on the first question, and see if anything's coming through, again through clairvoyance or what have you, before I start to read the cards and the symbols that I find on the cards. So that's generally the beginning process and how I start. So I hope that, that's clear and that's understanding. And I have a coffee from my glamorous assistant. Thank you, darling. I love you. And my special mug as well. Amazing. So does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions around that? And it's the same process that I use whether I'm in person, one-to-one with somebody, whether I'm doing it as a recording, as a distance reading, whether I am doing it for myself. It's the same kind of process. But if I'm doing it for myself, what I tend to do is I write down the symbols as I'm seeing them, as I'm receiving them. I write down the card that I've drawn, and then I start going through the process. So what stands out in the card to me, what jumps out at me first. Is there any certain colors that come through? What's happening in the foreground, the background? What character is it? What aspect of their character do we think of when they come to our mind? And go on from there, going through the layers that we've talked about in the previous sessions of this. Work our way through, and then if I am writing down on pen and paper, I allow myself to open up and really start to channel, and I've done a lot of channel writing in the past, so that's something that comes quite easily to me, but you know, it's amazing how easy that can come, even if you haven't tried that before. Just being open to writing down whatever comes to your mind's eye, not giving yourself a chance to think about it, just writing, you know, like a consciousness stream of whatever's coming through, and when you read it back later, you know, it's a message from your spirit guides. I've you know, channeled letters like this for myself, for other people, so you know, that's a really nice way of your spirit guides communicating with you. And the thing is, if you do the process that I've already mentioned about sitting down with intention and opening up and calling them forward, you know, they will take that opportunity to bring you messages. But the reason, you know, the reason we say that protection is so important, because when you open that light up, you know, sometimes we have spirit guides that are not so helpful. So that's why the intention, everything comes through in truth and sincerity for my highest good. It kind of puts like a buffer between you and anything that isn't helpful, that isn't beneficial, that's going to try and lead you up the garden path, as it were, because there are tricksters in the spirit world just as there are in the physical world. So just that's something to be aware of with any form of divination that you're doing, whether you're using a pendulum, whether you're using cards. It's just something to be aware of. Okay. Okay, so okay, so just going back through the comments. Thank you, this is great, you're welcome, that helps a lot. Great. Sounds 100% correct. I was that person once until I worked on myself. I assume you're talking about the soulmate question, so that's great. Where could I find that meditation? So the meditation is actually on my website. You can download it for free off the homepage. It's hollysholistic.healing.co.uk. I can give you some I can put a link in the description box. And my toe is doing much better, thank you. Oh, right, Paul's had to go. It's lovely to have him here. Julie said, are you able to slow down a touch? I will try. I wouldn't mind you slowing down a little, since I literally just woke up. Okay, all good, big help, thank you. I'll watch back just in case I missed anything. Okay, I'll try and slow down, ground, breathe. Sorry everyone, I just get so excited. And Jadine says, I do channel writing occasionally. Well, it's a great way to really you know, strengthen that relationship with your spirit team, your spirit guides, as well as receiving for yourself and others. When I first started doing tarot readings for others online, before I had the confidence to record myself, to do videos or to do sound recordings, I would literally just, you know, draw the cards, sit at my computer or with my pen and paper and just channel write all of my messages. And, you know, to great feedback, to great response from people. They were really in depth, they were really detailed, but obviously doing it that way, it takes a lot more time. So it's great for doing it with yourself, but I would say, you know, try recording yourself talking, even if you're doing it just for friends, you know, whatever's in your comfort zone, but speak it out loud, because as we speak it, spirit recognize that we've acknowledged it and they give us more to work with. If we're not speaking it out loud, they're not even sure that we've acknowledged that we're receiving what they're giving us. Hi Rian, lovely to have you here, sweet lady. She knows all about this. Rian knows all about this. Janine says, my internet is dropping in and out, so if I disappear, I'll be back. Okay, no worries, no problem. I don't think you missed a lot, Janine, though actually, you know, I have started with the question that you asked. So maybe it would be better to go back to the beginning after we finished, because I went into that in quite a lot of detail. And according to the people that are watching, speaking a bit too quickly. So yeah, you might want to go back and watch it and just make a couple of notes, anybody. But does anyone have any questions on anything that I've mentioned so far? I know I've gone from talking about, you know, the divination tool itself and plunged deep into the world of mediumship, clairvoyance and spirit communication, but for me the tarot is you know, a stepping stone to that. It's a bridge between you and them. So I think, you know, you can't have one without the other, really. Even if people say that they're not using spirit, that they're just reading the cards, their own intuition is the same thing. And So, you know, I've met readers that have said, oh no, I don't tap into any of that, I just read the cards. But how do they know what aspect of the card to talk about? How do they know, you know, what is relevant to that person, what isn't, and how to phrase things so they're not general but actually specific to that person? So it's just something to think about. Julie says, oh, Rian says, hang on, sorry. Yes, I found when I was channeling writing, it was taking so long for my clients and taking up so much more time. Yeah, it really is. Glad you're great, Janine. I'm glad it was a big help. Okay. Rian says, yes, I do. You're doing fab. Thank you, Rian. It's really kind of you. That means a lot coming from someone such as yourself. Everyone should go and check out Rian's Facebook page as well. It's wonderful. Post it in the comments, Rian, so people can come and check you out, okay? This is brilliant and very helpful. Good morning, Holly. Glad to hear your toe is on the mend. Yes, it is. Thank you. For those of you who don't know, I broke my toe last weekend. I overdid it a bit yesterday. I think I stood up for a bit too long. It's still a bit painful, but I'm getting there. I was able to stand up and cook a meal yesterday, so that was helpful. Hello, everybody. Claire says, you can't hear me. Okay, I don't know if that, can anyone else, has anyone else got trouble hearing me? I hope not, because I have, okay, just let me know. I'll keep going. So, so that's how I prepare for a reading. As I said, intention is everything. So even if you aren't, you know, developed in your clair senses, your spiritual senses, you can still set the intention of calling your spirit team forward, asking your spirit guides to assist you with the reading. And even if you don't see things the way I do, sense them, everyone works differently, but you might find that you are more articulate than usual. You may find that the symbols are jumping out of the card in a different way, and this will develop over time. The more you use them, the more you work with them. Okay. Okay, everyone says they can hear me. Thank you. I would love to do a live with you, Rian. That would be amazing. Yeah, everyone check out Psychic Maiden. She is wonderful. I actually came across Rian from the posts that she was putting out on Facebook. Lovely. All right, pick one of these symbols. What does it mean? And all of that kind of stuff. Some beautiful, beautiful posts. And then we actually met each other at a Psychic and Spiritual Fair, one of the Souls Awakening fairs, and I was just like, oh wow, I know of you already. And so we had a really lovely conversation. It was really nice to connect. Just a lovely soul, a beautiful, beautiful lady. So yeah, everyone go check out her page because she's wonderful. So yeah, people can hear me. That's really, really good. That's good. Boys are good. Thank you, lovely. A bit stir crazy. Yeah, they're good. A bit stir crazy, but you know, that's lockdown. But they're I'm getting their energy burned out of them, and we're doing a lot of creative stuff, so that's really good. And actually helping them understand more of their own spirituality and what have you. Like, there's a lot of things coming to awareness in their psychic development and their journeys at the moment. I have two very profoundly psychic children, and so it's helping them hone in on that and teaching them about different things. And you know, it's so beautiful that they're so open to it. So there we go. So yes, like-minded souls, you're very welcome. And Jadine says Rian is wonderful, so kind and compassionate. Yes, absolutely. So that's the first question. If no one else has any questions around that, we can jump straight in to the second question that I wanted to address today, which is something that has come up in workshops that I've facilitated time and time again. Now, I'm going to start talking about reversed cards. Okay, so what this means essentially is when a card comes out upside down. Okay, now some people choose to read them upside down and the impact that has on the meaning, and some people don't. They just turn around the right way, because if you're working intuitively, if you're being inspired, and if you are open to receiving the communication from spirit and from the divine, then you don't really, it doesn't really matter whether you're reading them reversed or not, because you will get the sense, the feeling, the knowing of what that card is trying to suggest, why that card came up. You know, it just depends what level you're at. I tend to read cards reversed because it helps me understand where it's going. But you really, you know, as long, if you're reading a card and you start reading it the right way, and you know, you start saying, oh, this card suggests this, that, and the other, but actually, do you know, I feel that this doesn't apply to you. I feel that it's not relevant. What I actually feel is, and then it starts coming out the way the reverse card can be read. So the reverse card can mean that it's a complete subversion of the meaning of that card. It could simply mean that there's things that you're not aware of that are happening around you that you simply just have no awareness of, that you need to be made aware of. Or it can mean that there's something that is going on internally with you in your subconscious that is affecting this from happening. So Julie, who's on here, Julie Crode, you know, and I love the example that we always say is the Three of Cups, which is like a celebration, and traditionally it's like three women toasting each other. It's toasting each other, holding these cups up in the air. And when that card comes out upside down, it's like, oh, but you know, it can. Is it negative? Is it that, you know, you're not going to be celebrating because something terrible is going to happen? And the way we approached it was this: it's like, perhaps you should be celebrating and you're not. Perhaps you're not giving yourself enough credit, you're not giving yourself enough praise for what you've accomplished, what you've done. Perhaps you're so busy focusing on the wrong thing that you're not celebrating the little wins and achievements that you've had in your life. So that's one way of looking at that as reversed. So have a little think about and say, right, well, rather it being the reversed meaning of something, see it as there's something that they're not aware of, something going on under the surface, something that they need to address in order for the upward meaning of that card to come to fruition. So does that make sense? Does that make sense, everyone? I had that when my son's wedding was cancelled in May. Oh, did you really? The Three of Cups reversed. So then, yeah, so it can directly mean, you know, perhaps there's something that you thought you were going to be celebrating is going to be cancelled. But I don't think it would ever mean bad news. Thank you for the hearts, my love. So yes, that's what I would say about reverse cards. Let's I've got a few decks here. Let's just draw one as an example to see how I would read that reverse, just to give you an example. Okay. Oh, that one. Okay. So Judgment. So if that came out reversed, it would say you have to let go of your judgments. You have to stop having a fixed idea about something and open your mind up a little bit. Perhaps being less critical on yourself. You know, perhaps, you know, as you know, these people are walking towards like freedom here and the blue skies. Perhaps this, you know, this might suggest that you're actually, you know, you're moving into a place of restriction. Maybe quite relevant for us right now. But so here there's lots of blue. So perhaps it being reversed is that, you know, you're moving to a place where you are going to be more, this is so relevant, you are going to be more restricted in terms of your self-expression, your freedom of speech. This is really relevant. You know, so whereas, you know, he's taking his helmet off, perhaps, you know, it being reversed, saying, you know, it's going to be a time perhaps you need to put your armor on a bit more to be a little bit more protected, to defend your energy a little bit better. So, and I can't get over how relevant this is. So here there's a book open. So the fact that it's being reversed, perhaps a book being closed. So something coming to an end, or something being, you know, you're stopping seeing something. Just, you know, read that as you will. But that's just how I would you know, how I would interpret that one. It's very relevant, isn't it, Julie? Very relevant indeed. But yeah, so just that as an example, as how you could look at it in a reversed manner. These are the Connolly Tarot deck. The box is battered, but these are really beautiful. These are some of the ones that one of the decks I was using for the major arcana sessions that we did. Lifting restrictions, yes, it could be that. It could be that. It could be that. If all your cards are up the right way in the deck, how do they come out reversed if pulled not that they've fallen or jumped? Right, that can happen so easily, and subconsciously from ourselves as well. So say if they're all the right way up, it's all in the manner that you turn the card over, right? So you can turn it that way, or you can turn it that way. You know, some people turn it sideways, some people do it, like, it just depends how you turn the cards over. It's just as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So even if they do all start the right way, and even, you know, the way you shuffle the cards, you know, you can, depending on how you do it, let me just move this back a little bit so I can shuffle them on here. So say they're all the one way up. If you decide to cut them and then shuffle them like this, you've already got half of them the wrong way up. It just depends which way you cut the cards and move them around. Do you just put them back in reversed or back in the right way up? I don't even know. They just go back in. I don't even think about which way up they are or not. I know some people do. A friend of mine is really OCD and they've got to all be the same way up. So she would be aware of what way they went back in. But I don't acknowledge it, because you will turn them the way that you feel inspired to turn them over at the time, and it will just change. Okay. Julie says, your explanation really helped me with reverse cards. I don't find them so scary now. Yeah. And the thing is, you know, and I'm going to talk about this next time, really, about how, you know, the delivery of communication and how we express what we consider to be bad news or what have you. So I'm going to go into that in a bit more detail. But yeah, they can be scary, particularly if it is a very happy looking card reversed. But then, you know, go with what you feel. Normally, Spirit wouldn't deliver bad news in many ways. So even if there's something bad that was going to happen, and they wouldn't say, oh God, something bad's going to happen, what they would say is that, right, you're going to need to remember that there's a support team around you. You're going to need to remember, you know, you're going to need to work on your strength a little bit and start working on your own empowerment, and be aware perhaps that if any blockages come across your pathway, they're to help make you stronger. They help you to see things from a different perspective and to teach you your own power. So they're not going to say, oh God, you're going to break your leg next week. What they are going to say is, all right, there's a time coming where you're going to have to stop and rest, and perhaps, you know, focus on different things that you've been put into one side, or focus on, you know, your own personal development, or, you know, look to natural healing things, because, you know, so in my experience, and again, I guess maybe that's just because my intention is always to work with the light when it comes to reading, but they would never, yeah, okay. And what I say about tarot, yeah, they always call you on your shit, and they don't beat about the bush. They tell you things straight. Yes, they do, but also, you know, I don't think Spirit they're not gonna come in and tell you anything in a way that's gonna be scary or to frighten you or what have you. Unless you're really not listening and have been listening and what have you. So I think that, you know, if something does come out like that looks like a positive card reverse, don't automatically jump to the fear of, gosh, how am I going to deliver this? There's bad news. Look at it from a perspective, okay, well, if I've set the intention that everything's coming through from their highest good to uplift, empower and inspire this person, then, you know, what would be the benefit of them showing me this positive card reverse? And it could be, right, you're not, like I said, you're not seeing the positive. For some reason, even if there's a gift in front of you, you're looking at the negatives. So I would always take it back to their mindset and say, you know, what's going on internally for you? Are you focusing on the doom and gloom? Are you focusing on negativity? And bring it back round full circle. You know, and again, then if you have something that's deemed as a negative card reversed, it's to say perhaps that they're changing perspective, they're coming out of that period. I think there's a lot of the sword cards that look quite scary initially, the imagery that can be like, oh god, what's going to happen, you know. And again, you know, the traditional cards that you know, that make people quite which, you know, like the death card and the hangman, and you know, to the tower in some cases. So so again, it's all about just not instinctively going, oh my gosh, this is bad, but actually, you know, being open to delivering that in a supportive, uplifting, helpful way that's going to serve this person. And then you can really see through the initial pass through that initial like hesitation, or that that ominousness, or that fear of delivering the communication to that person. So I hope that makes sense. Fab. Rian says, me too, OCD, laugh out loud. That's really funny. Yeah, I'm not bothered. My, you know, my tarot cards go here, there and everywhere. So just a moment. Okay, so, oh, that's so funny. Janine's just messaged me saying she shuffled her cards and some have fallen out, and the Three of Cups fell out as well. Amazing, beautiful cards, beautiful cards. If you can, share those in the comments for people to see. It's a really beautiful deck. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Janine. So that, you know, that's how personally I approach reversed cards. It's so I don't know if anyone saw what I posted I did like a little watch party in the group yesterday with Colette Barron-Reed, who is the creator of some stunning tarot and oracle decks. She's the creator of the Good Tarot. She has an online oracle school, and I've heard her talk about reverse cards before. She did a whole video on how reverse cards are actually a gift, because, you know, they make us aware of what we're not aware of, which is true of all the tarot, right? But it, you know, it teaches us what we really need to work on in that time, what we need to change our perspective on, or really be aware of. So, you know, I think you know, reading cards reversed is a really good thing. But then, you know, I am just doing a little bit of kind of study for this, you know, preparation for these sessions. I was looking at the book that came with my very first tarot deck that I had when I was a teenager. And actually, in the beginning, the person who wrote the book said, I don't read cards reversed. And, you know, they've got to the level, they've written a book and they've published a deck, and so, you know, you don't need to, if they're off-putting to you. Just hold in your awareness that it came out reversed. So, great question, Shannon. Shannon says, is there any difference in the way you do a reading for yourself versus doing one for someone else? Not really. Not really. You know, the preparation is the same. The only thing I would say doing a reading for yourself is that you are more inclined to put cards back in that you don't want to look at. You are very inclined to see what you want to see in the cards, which is why I suggest writing it down and being open to be called on stuff that perhaps you're not addressing that you need to be, and just you know, I don't think I'm as thorough for myself as I am when I do readings for other people, but I wouldn't say there's much difference in it. Just, you know, I would say if you are going to do readings for yourself, you definitely need to have a pen and paper there, just so you can write down what's coming to you, and so, you know, you can look back at it afterwards and perhaps, you know, see anything that you have channeled through that doesn't come from your own wisdom. But I would say just try not to look at the glasses with rose tinted spectacles if you are doing a reading for yourself. The thing is, when I tend to do a reading for myself, I tend to ask specific questions or use a spread, because it gives you less room for maneuver, if you like, when it comes to what's coming through for you. So I would say, actually, yeah, I do tend to ask more specific questions if I'm doing a reading for myself, and yeah, and I tend to do spreads. I used to actually have a monthly spread in a magazine. I used to create spreads for a magazine that And so you know, I got quite good at doing that and formulating questions that are going to be the most helpful. So that's something that maybe you know, would be a nice idea to talk about now, actually, which is something that I thought I could maybe cover. So, you know, when it comes to using spreads, what I would suggest is having a look on Pinterest, or finding perhaps an account that creates their own spreads. There's some really good ones on Pinterest. Like if you've been following the Monday Mantras series that I've been doing in this group as well, when I've posted the beautiful images and the affirmations, I've actually been posting a tarot spread for that particular chakra, and so it's, you know, it's suggesting questions that you could ask that are really going to help you move forward and unblocking that. So so for example, you know, what do I need to be aware of around this situation? You know, another question, what is holding me back here, and what course of action is going to help me move forward with, you know, the fastest pace, or, you know, the most beneficial pace. So these are the kind of questions. So have a look for some spreads. Personally, I've never got on with the Celtic Cross, which I think is one of the most common spreads that people use. I've never got on with that. I find it a bit complicated, and you know, it's just, I think, I mean, and you know, some people who use this, you know, each to their own, you know, horses for courses, right? Different things for different people. But for me, I've always found it a little bit complicated and a little bit you know, trying to make things fit. You know, so there's certain cards that reflect certain aspects of a situation, a scenario, like you know, who's having an influence on it, this, that, and the other. And you know, I've had conversations with people about this who've used the Celtic Cross in some of my tarot classes, and they've said the same thing. Like, they're working really hard to try and associate that card with that particular placement, and it can get confusing. So keep it simple. You know, find questions that you think are going to be most constructive and helpful for you, and then do it that way, rather than leaving it open as if you would do a reading for someone else. That's just because, you know, as mediums, and I'm sure there's mediums in this group that are watching now that would agree with this, that it's harder to receive for ourselves than it is for other people. So that's why using a spread can be really, really helpful. I'm happy to share some in here if people are interested, but definitely go and check out Pinterest. It's one of the best resources for all kinds of things like this, okay? And if you are learning tarot, there's just amazing tips and what have you on there. So go and have a look at those. The most common spread I think I do use when doing readings for other people, if they haven't got specific questions, is the past, present and future spread, which so you've got 3 piles of cards. This one, you know, reflecting the past, perhaps more recent or even distant past. Perhaps sometimes it's even touched in past lives, depending on how deep you're going. You know, then the middle card, the central card, is the present situation, how they feel at the moment, what's going on with them right now. And then the card furthest to the right is, you know, what the future outcome is, you know, what's going to happen in the future, perhaps close future or long-term future, and things you need to be aware of regarding that, perhaps action steps you need to take to help you get there, or just things that need to be in your awareness about the road that you're traveling along. And then what I do, I get the person to you know, pick the 3 cards in whatever manner works for you. Everyone works differently. And then I draw cards then to layer it up, bring in more information, usually a maximum of 4 cards in each pile, but again, it's completely up to you. But that's the spread that I use. That's what my mentor taught me, and you know, what I've used from the very beginning. So that can be useful for yourself as well, if you want to hone in on a certain specific situation, or if you want to leave open spirit, what do you want me to know about that's going to help serve my greatest good at the moment, and you can do it that way. But again, it's a completely individual thing. I think everyone needs to use their intuition on this. But yeah, so coming back to what Shannon originally asked, yes, it is slightly different, and you know, it is different reading for yourself. But there are lots of things that you can use to help you get over that block of reading for yourself, because it is hard to read for yourself, because our own our own ego or unconscious mind and everything like that gets in the way. And how many of you can vouch for this? If a card comes out that you don't want to see, you put it back in, you shuffle them, and the same card comes out and you're like, oh my god, the universe, and you get freaked out because it's just so magical, right? But the number of times that a card has come out, I've put it back in and it's come out again straight away. So the cards choose you. It's like the wand chooses the wizard, the cards you choose the user, the card chooses, the cards choose you. They know what you need to see right now, what's relevant to you at the moment. As Carl Jung, the psychologist, said, it's creating coincidences, it's creating synchronicities for you to interpret, which I think is a really beautiful way of looking at it. So yes, let's have a look. So Julie says, I always see what I want to see when I do my own readings. Absolutely, we do. We really, really do. Yes, I find certain cards to fit the Celtic cross is difficult. So now I just deal one card after another, or past, present and future. Yeah, absolutely. Jadine says, I use the Celtic cross shape but don't follow in the normal way. Great, adapt it. Do what feels right for you. I mean, it is a great tool. It's one of the most famous spread, well, probably the most famous tarot spread there is. So it obviously works for some people. Just from my experience, I just find it really difficult to work with. And I think there's enough obstacles in the way for people dipping into tarot as it is. People are so put off by the amount of symbolism, the amount of cards, and all of that kind of stuff already. Throwing in a complicated tarot spread like that to the mix, I think, can be quite off-putting for people. So, I want this, the point of these is trying to make it as accessible as possible to people. So if you can take out the complicated aspects of it to make it more simple and intuitive for people, I think the more people are going to dip into it. The Tower card, yeah, absolutely. Every time I see the Tower or mention the Tower now, I laugh and think of you, Janine. So that's covering spreads and doing readings for yourself and others. And so asking the right questions is what I'm going to talk about next, because the number of people that reach out to me for a reading and then they give me their questions and I'm just like, these are not the kind of questions that we can answer with tarot. So then I go back and explain what it is and what it isn't. And it's not predicting the future. It's not telling you exactly what's going to happen. It's not fortune telling. And you can't, although I've seen a couple of posts recently, contradictory to this, but then you need to know specifically what cards do mean yes and no. But you can't really ask yes or no questions for the tarot. It gets confusing, and that's just not what they're for. That's not what they're possible for. If you want to ask yes or no questions, try a different form of divination. Try dowsing with a pendulum, or doing heads or tails, or even like rolling dice, things like that. These are all things that you can use for divination purposes if you have a set, right? Well, even numbers mean yes, odd numbers mean no, and all of that kind of stuff. But for tarot, I would really not ask yes or no questions. Saying that, you can rephrase a question that will be able to answer it in a similar way. So what I always say to people, would it be in the interest of my highest good to do this? Does that make sense? Like, just changing it. So, how would this impact my highest good, for example? And that will, in many ways that is a yes or no question, but it's worded in a different way. So you can't ask like, I had a message, I had to do a reading for someone a while back. It's like really specific questions, again going back to matters of the heart and how people get in desperation, but it's like, is my partner cheating on me? And it's like yes or no, and it was like a series of questions like that, and it's like, oh my god, like how do I answer these questions? Like, what's spirit going to show me here? And essentially, like, they won't give you a definitive answer about kind of things like that. Like, I think a lot of the time when people come for a reading as well, they want the responsibility of making a decision to be taken away from them, which is why they have a reading done, because they want just to be told what to do, or they've made a decision and they just want to know that it's the right decision to make. And again, you know, spirit are not going to tell you what course of action to take, and any reader that tells you that they are telling you exactly what to do, I would question. I mean, I don't know what other people's opinions on this are, but again, from my perspective, it's like they can tell you how things might unfold with a certain course of action, but they're not going to take that responsibility away from you, because you have you have a soul purpose to live, you have soul contracts to fulfill, you know, you have a life purpose that you chose to experience. You came here to face certain obstacles, you knew you'd face those. So, you know, our experience here is to develop our soul, our consciousness, our awareness, our strength and experience through having these experiences. So spirit are not going to take that responsibility away from you. And so, you know, they can tell you other things around a situation, but they're not going to tell you do this, do that, yes or no. They're going to help you find your own intuition to help you make your own decisions. You know, sometimes, you know, I get in readings like, look, like you having to make a decision. Like, I'm seeing perhaps a fork in the road ahead, and there's two pathways, and you're looking from one to the other and you don't know which one to choose. And I can say, right, one pathway is really overgrown and there's thorns and it's going to be difficult, but it is the end is closer to you. Or that one, it seems more easy and plain sailing, but it's going to take you a lot longer to get to the other end. Or you know, they can say one way is a dead end, and one way is going to really, you know, it looks quite difficult, but it's gonna ultimately get you to where you need to go. But they're not going to say which way you should choose or identify which way is which, because what they're going to say is, you know, trust your intuition. How does it feel? How you know, close your eyes. You're looking at one, you're looking at the other. Which way are you feeling inspired to go to? That's from my experience. Again, this is just from my experience, the way my guides work with me, and they, you know, they will, you know, if you ask, they can show you visually, but they won't make the decision for you. They won't say, look, go the way that looks more difficult, or go the way that looks more easy. They're going to say, you know, you're going to have to use your intuition. That's just from my perspective. I don't know what other people are thinking here. Please, any feedback on this or anything that you think would be really beneficial here. So, the tower. So Julie says, remember the guy who used to come to see you at the Little Shop of Calm? He wanted specifics. Oh my goodness. Yes, I remember that guy. And so Julie and I used to have, every month there would be a Mind Body Spirit kind of fair above our friend's shop in Cowbridge. Shout out Jackie Beddoes. And so every month we'd have like this Mind Body Spirit fair, and I would Julie would be there doing her wonderful holistic therapies. I'd be there doing readings, and every time I saw him walk in the room, I'd kind of sink a little bit, because I knew he was going to do a beeline for me for a reading, and he would really want specifics, like, when is my house going to sell? Are we going to get the asking price for it? You know, what can I do to make it sell faster? Really, like, so crazy specific questions. And it's like every time he came, I remember like having to say, look, there's no way that I can answer this question for you, like, you know, and you know, he would then go to another reader and see if he could get the answers he wanted from them, not understanding that your spirit just won't give you those specifics. You know, crazy. So I do remember. Oh dear, he'd make me sweat in readings as well, like that. Really testing my ability to communicate with spirit. And even if you told him certain things, he would be like, no, I'm not accepting that. And it's like, well, dude, what do you want me to do? Like, I haven't got a phone, I'm not on the phone to your spirit guides, it's all symbolic. So there we go. Anyway, Jadine says the cards are for guidance, but there is still free will. Absolutely free will. And this is why I say to people, you know, you need to ask your spirit guides for assistance, because they can't come in and just take the obstacles away from you. That you really need to ask for their assistance, because otherwise they're messing with the plan of the universe and they're breaking rules. Claire says, I believe in my soul purpose, but we know we have choices as to how we attain this. Yeah, absolutely. We have choices to make, and we can decide to take action or not take action. You know, we can decide, as I know, to go against our gut instinct and be full of regrets after. So you know, ultimately, all of this is guiding us to, at all times, is to listen to your soul. What is your gut instinct telling you? What's your soul trying to say to you? Because it's communicating with us in so many ways. And I think that's another wonderful tool of the tarot, is to help us listen more. It gives us a focal point, so we are aware of what other senses are coming in. It's beautiful. Julie says, I read for him once. Will my house sell? How much should I ask for it? Exactly, the blooming same questions. The same questions every blooming month. And yeah, so yeah, you can't get those kind of answers, my friends. So how's everybody doing? Does anyone have another question perhaps that I haven't addressed yet that you would like me to ask for you? We're here, we've been here an hour, we've got a little while longer, so I might be able to tap into some of the other questions that that I've written down if no one has any questions. What kind of questions do you ask when you have readings, or you do readings for yourself? Or what, if you do readings for others, what are the questions that you find difficult to answer? Do let me know. And perhaps, like with the love, will I find love question earlier, I can kind of help you find your way around it to get the right answers. We've talked about intentions. What I would say, we've talked about spreads and readings. We've talked about asking the right questions. Did his house sell? To be honest, I don't even know. I don't even know. I think it may have done. Because another thing, and again, I don't want to go on about this poor guy too much, but he would come in and he would ask these questions, and then he would sit there and he would spend more time bad-mouthing his neighbours and telling you about this ongoing feud that had been happening for years with his neighbour, and saying all the horrible things that he wanted to do to him and all of that kind of stuff. And it would be like, oh my, like, right, well, again, going, and I think what would keep coming up is like, you've got to let it go, you've got to send him love. Like, I think all the communication that was coming through is like, you're going to stay where you are until you start to see the situation differently, which is ultimately the spiritual truth for all of us, right? So it would always come back to the same thing. I think he'd even said that he'd sacked one estate agent because they weren't shifting the house, and hired someone else, and gone with another estate agent or realtor or whatever, the expression is wherever you are in the world, because it wasn't selling fast enough, and it was all down to his energy and what he was putting out there. So again you have to accept this, I think, which is probably quite a good lesson, is that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like, if people come and ask these questions, you're telling them what's coming through, but if they're not ready to hear it where they are in their spiritual evolution, they're not going to take it on board. But don't see that as a failing of yours. And I know I've done a couple of months back, a few of us did a psychic supper at a farm that we do events from, Tinseller Community Farm, shout out Barbara, and her mum's actually a medium, and so I spent much longer than I should have with her. I ended up staying there much longer than everyone else because I had to go around everyone on the table. I found it really difficult, and I was giving her this communication that spirit, it was very clear the symbols that were coming through, and she was like, no, can't take that, not taking that, can't take that. And it wasn't that she couldn't take it, it's just she wasn't willing to accept it. And so that's something you need to be aware of as well, that if you're getting no's, if you're giving communication, and that's another thing when you're giving readings, you need to check and go, does this make sense to you? And if it doesn't make sense, try and rephrase it in a different way or word it in a different way. Don't take a no as that's completely wrong. Just try and rephrase what you're seeing, articulate it differently. And no matter how I articulated to this lady what was coming through for her, she was going no, because she wasn't willing to accept it. She didn't want to make the changes or address the issues that spirit were coming through with for her. And actually, I had to leave it. It really kind of, I got quite it made me feel quite flustered and quite sweaty palms, and and I ended up running late then. So after everyone had left, I was still going around the table with these people, and I spoke to her mum afterwards, and her mum's like, oh yeah, she's just finding it really hard to accept what's going on and is not addressing the issues that she needs to address. And it's like, right, well, yeah, that makes total sense. So don't see it as a reflection of you always if people can't take on board, because some people are just not ready to hear what you have to say. It all goes down to where they are on their journey of personal development, what they're doing, working on themselves. People get themselves stuck in situations and they don't want to make sometimes the difficult decisions that they have to make in order to rectify that or change that in their lives. And so don't see that as anything critical about your communication. Don't beat yourself up about it, because sometimes it's simply down to them. But at the same time, you've got to be open-minded that we are working with symbols. And again, this is another thing, I did a massive rant video about this a couple of years ago, about putting spiritual teachers and communicators on pedestals, because at the end of the day, we are just people. We are people like you and everyone else that comes for readings. The only thing is that we've honed our ability to receive this communication a little bit better than anyone else. We've spent years perhaps tuning in, working out how to articulate things, how to share things, how to be discerning with, is it a helpful spirit or not a helpful spirit, and on all of that kind of stuff. And so, we've worked on our ability to articulate the symbols, and that's one of the hardest things. And I've said this a few times in this series, and I say it in my classes, one of the hardest things is developing the confidence to say what you're receiving, but also being able to articulate that symbol in a way that relates to that person's life in a way that they understand. And so if they don't understand what you're articulating the first time, try and articulate it in a different way. But what you've got to understand is that some people, the way they interpret a symbol might not necessarily be the way that you would interpret a symbol. The way that communication comes across, sometimes if the communicators themselves are not doing the work on themselves and their prejudices and their judgments and all of that, then when something comes up in a reading, they can put their own opinion in. They don't get out of the way, and they say what they think rather than what spirit are communicating. So sometimes, you don't have to take on board everything a communicator is saying, and by that I mean a medium, a reader, or whatever, if it doesn't resonate with you. So just, again, it's that discernment. You have to understand that not everything comes through a medium or a channel is true, is real. And in my own life, again, I've done videos about this before, in my own life, some really damaging things have been said and done because people are taking the word of a communicator who is sharing their opinion, not what spirit is coming through with, and also seeing a symbol and reading it one way and saying, well, this is categorically what this means, when actually the symbol means something quite different, and it can be very damaging. So again, not wanting to put you off doing this in any whatsoever, but it is a responsibility. Again, people that don't quite understand what this is and how it works, people hang on your every word. People that are very vulnerable come for readings often, and so you've got to understand that you need to be careful how you phrase things, how you word things, and to let them know nothing's set in stone. And this is all down to your free will. You can change what you want, and that's why intention is so important, and protection is so important, to make sure that what you're delivering is for their highest good. It is with truth and love and sincerity. I've known of people standing on a platform in a church, speak to a woman sat in the front row saying, your husband's no good, you need to leave him, when the husband was sat right next to her. I've known of people being told they're pregnant when they're not. I've known of people saying, this person you've got feelings for, you are going to end up together in the long run, when that really hasn't been the case. So some people do fall into that trap of seeing wishful thinking and interpreting that as that's what's going to happen. And so you just need to be aware of that as well. I hope that makes sense. So Julie says, when I tell people that I cannot legally give them medical, financial, legal, or pregnancy advice, the client would say it is a cop-out. Well, actually, I am obliged to say legally that it's for entertainment purposes only. So you can say that. And, if people say that it's a cop-out, well, then they just say, look, you don't have to say it, but they clearly don't understand how it works. So don't worry about that. You can try and educate them a little bit on how it does work. Yeah, you can say, look, Spirit are going to try and advise you as best they can, but they're not going to tell you what to do. But to say to someone, well, it's a cop out, it's not, because as I said, you're not on the phone to Spirit. You haven't got someone in the Akashic records looking things up for you and telling you the answers. You literally have to. You literally have to explain how it works to them. That's the only way, really, I think you can get around that. Janine says, absolutely fantastic. Julie says, yes, I find if I don't say what they want to hear, but tell them what Spirit says, there is a clash as well. Well, and again, is that leading a horse to water, but them not being prepared to drink. You can, and that's, never underestimate the power of planting seeds and planting ideas in people's heads, because it will, even if it's 5 years down the line, it may come back into their mind's eye and they may go, oh, that makes perfect sense now, or they may come to a point where they are ready to accept it and they think back on it, and actually that's going to really help them further down the line when they are ready to let go of the ego, let go of the resistance, let go of their prejudices and opinions. Like, it just depends where they are on their spiritual journey. One thing that I find just so hilarious, but not hilarious, like tragic, a little bit ironic, is that a lot of people that walk the spiritual path, they still have a lot of ego to get through, and they still have a lot of prejudice, and they still have a lot of work to do on themselves in order to really, raise the bar, move higher into that space. And I think it's just really important not to bring your opinions to the table when you're doing readings for people. I think it's just, allowing yourself to be open and to see what comes through. And this is another thing, actually, really, really important thing. When I do readings for people and I ask them for their questions, I am very clear that I say, please do not give me too much information, and don't feed the medium. My mentor used to say, don't feed the medium, I've had my dinner already. It's like, don't feed the medium. And what that means is, don't give them too much information, because one, you want to know that what's coming through is legitimately coming through from Spirit. I'm not reading from what you've told me. I'm not making up my mind, filling in the blanks, doing that cold reading or whatever Darren Brown or whoever says it is. I want you to know that what's coming through is genuinely coming through. Don't come in, right, well, my grandmother's in Spirit and we were really, really close, and she had a dog and a cat and blah, blah, blah. And she always used to say this to me, and, I'm going through this situation and I think my boyfriend's cheating on me, and, I'm at work and there's these colleagues that I don't work with. Like, I don't want to know those details. I just want to know, look, there are spirits that I'm close to, that I'd like to know if they're around me. There's a job situation, a relationship situation. That's all I want to know. That's all I need to know. Because if someone comes in, and I had this situation, someone messaging me for readings, and they literally poured their heart out to me about having an abusive partner. The partner was being physically abusive as well as emotionally abusive. They were using their children as weapons and blah, 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 blah. And instantly I was just like, how can I do a reading about this? Again, I knew too much information. So obviously, and anyone that was presented with that information would have an emotional reaction to that. They would automatically have that judgment of, you've got to leave them then. You've got to take your kids and go to a refuge. That would be the instant reaction of anybody. So trying to cut through my own opinions then and deliver that communication was really, really difficult. It was really, really hard to do. And again, this lady, bless her, she's such a lovely person. You know, she didn't want to acknowledge what spirit was saying to her. So she wanted someone to tell her what to do, but also then she didn't want the responsibility of making that decision herself. She wanted perhaps a scapegoat if it did fall apart, or what have you. So again, and if someone comes in, for example, and says, oh, my grandmother's in spirit and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. Her name was Jean and blah, blah, blah. And it's like when you do get Nanny Jean stepping forward with her pet sheepdog with her, and she's there covered in flour with a rolling pin and whatever, and so when you do say, oh well, I've got your grandmother here and this, that, and the other, it's like, yeah, but you yes, even though she has stepped forward and she is there, it's like, right, well, what can I bring you now? What evidence can I bring you now that she's actually with me? And I know, again, we're talking about spirit communication as opposed to tarot reading, but again, it's, you want people to have the reassurance. And okay, some people come with a very open mind, but some people come as skeptics. And so you just have to deliver what you can, is what I'm trying to say. I'm going around the houses here, but that's, yeah, I hope that answers whatever question I was answering. I do feel that I've left it, Jadine says, I do feel that I've left it too late in life to be at one with spirit sometimes and to learn everything I need to want to learn. No, that is not true. That's not true. Some people don't even come to this awareness till, much later on in their lives. I don't know how old you are, Jadine, and obviously, don't disclose, but just from people that I know, from stories that I know from my mentor, like he's no longer with us, he's in spirit now, so he's still my mentor, just working from another level, but he didn't even believe in spirit. He didn't even believe in the afterlife, regardless of all the experiences that he'd had in his life, looking back hindsight wise, until he was until he'd retired, until he was like in his 50s and 60s, when he actually developed as a spiritual healer. He started to learn healing after he'd had some experiences with his wife going to the church and people coming forward that there's no way people could have known that information. And so it was only through healing that he started to see spirit and acknowledge spirit and recognize spirit, and he was one of the greatest mediums I've ever known of. And so it's never too late. And at the end of the day, you've got more life experience. You've learned a lot more wisdom that you can, relay and impart to others from having the life experience. And so, once you become aware of that and you start to do the work on yourself, that relationship with spirit can develop, and it's amazing what can change in your life, what burdens can drop away when you do start to develop that connection. But it can happen any time in your life. It's never too late. And everything you need to know and want to know. Well, it's amazing how fast that can come flooding in when you connect with it. And it is a huge responsibility. Absolutely huge. Jadine says, my insurance states that I have to say it's for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, exactly. That's what mine says. And I do say at the beginning of readings, when I say it, I do laugh and say, I do have to state that this, that this is for entertainment purposes only. And it is quite, like, people do find it quite amusing. Oh, and Julie, just replying to Jadine, says, no, you haven't left it too late. This is the perfect time for you on your path. It absolutely is. Absolutely is. So, again, I've gone off on little bits of tangents, brought in wisdom of other things as well. So I hope that you're all enjoying this. I hope... and please, any questions, throw them in, regardless what level that we're talking here. We're going quite deep with this today, but again, tarot was the gateway for this mediumship for me. As I've mentioned, people know the story. The first, I started sitting in mediumship development, and my mentor said, bring your cards. bring some cards, work with cards when you're sitting in circle. It was a closed circle, development circle. Bring your cards. And so when I was developing my clairvoyance, my cards were there with me, and it really accelerated the process. So if this is something that you are trying to do, if you are trying to open your clairvoyance, if you are trying to, open your crown chakra, connect with the divine, connect with your spirit guides, connect with your loved ones, your ancestors. It's a really powerful tool to do that and to help you develop your faculties, as it were. Okay, so wonderful. Okay, what does Janine say? I'm 47 and only now actually feel ready. I feel I'm more aware now that the drama of youth has passed. Less influences, less peer pressure to be something I'm not and fit in with society. Now I really don't care what people think, and I feel free to be open to it all. And that's huge. Letting go of fear of judgment and feeling enough. Overcoming that is a really powerful tool in helping you not only explore your spirituality but deliver tarot readings, because the golden rule for me is always give what you get. That's what I've been taught the whole way through. If you see any, and obviously within reason, but if you are seeing something clairvoyantly or perceiving something or feeling something, the golden rule is to give what you get. So give it and share it and say it. I kind of mentioned this earlier. It's like if you don't say what you're perceiving, spirit don't know, so they won't give you something else. But I think the hardest part for people, and I've run development circles and I've run psychic development groups, and the hardest thing I think for people initially, even if they're receiving, is to speak up and say that they've got something, for the fear of looking foolish if it's not right. And so overcoming that fear of judgment and not feeling foolish, just saying what you get, you're going to be amazed at how accurate you can be. And so that's something that I think is really important that you need to work with, which is one of the, which is a beautiful segue into after this is finished. So this is week 5. Next week is week 6. Then I'm going to stop doing the live video trainings here in the group and actually take it onto Zoom, as I mentioned last week. Take it onto Zoom with anyone who wants to join, and practice in a way that you get opportunity to deliver communication, and I can help you, help you word it, help you phrase it, help you break down the symbols in your own way, so you get more confidence in doing readings. Because ultimately, again, this is all theory. This is all theory. This is all the intellectualization, gosh, that's a mouthful, of this. Until you actually put it into practice, it means nothing. So that's why this Zoom tea and tarot is going to start happening in a couple of weeks' time. It's going to be in an evening, Tuesday evening, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing a spiritual and holistic wellness 6-week sessions as well, to replace it, which will be bringing in a lot of the information that's in the book that I'm writing, some things you ought to know, that's hopefully going to be finished and published later this year. The publishing deal is already set up, so I just need to get my ass in gear and get the book finished. So I'll be bringing in a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing in my book in that wellbeing course. So I'm still going to be here, guys, for you to come and sit with and listen to. But so if you are interested in doing this practice and delivering what you're getting and opening up to that, that's the tea and tarot evening sessions. Should we call it that? Tea and tarot evening sessions. It sounds like some DJ remix. but yeah, so that's gonna be coming up in a couple of weeks. So if you're interested in that, do let me know. I can put your name down, and we can have a little chat about that. So let's see how we're doing for time. I've loved today, guys. I've loved today. Just really riffing, sharing things with you. Have I covered everything that you guys really needed, answering around what we've talked about today? Janine says, can't wait. That's amazing. Julie says, Zoom sounds awesome. Fantastic. Shannon says, so excited and nervous at the same time to join Zoom. I've been reading for myself for 25 years, yet have done very few readings for other people. Well, you know, it's going to be safe. It's going to be a safe space, a nice container. And I haven't been promoting it. This is all I've been doing to promote it, is tell you guys. So it might just be 5 of us. um, but but it's going to be a safe space and a container, and it's going to be wonderful to hear your experiences, Shannon, and to hear really what you've got to say, having had, you know, such a long wealth of experience. Again, we all learn in different ways, we all have different things to contribute, but I'm sure that you have a lot that you can share with us as well. And you're a holistic coach, right? So you have lots of wisdom to tap into, a lot of knowledge that you can share with us that can be really constructive for people. And that's the thing, again, coming back, you know, if you're coming back to this from other levels of experience, from different amounts of experience, whether that's life experience or, you know, like my background is holistic and Ayurvedic therapies, coming at it from that background, you know, we have so much wisdom that we've accumulated on our journeys to share. And that's something that you can use tarot to impart to other people, because spirit work with you where you are. Okay, so if you have knowledge of colours and the chakras and what their meanings are, that's what's going to stand out in readings to you. That's what's you're going to feel drawn to. It's like, oh, that red chakra, like I'm drawn to the red chakra. You need to do work on your root chakra. So you really need to do affirmations around confidence and belonging and stability and strength and power. So that's what I'm really feel drawn to. So if that's where you are, they'll work with you there. If you know about different flowers, for example, the time of year that they come out, perhaps the meaning of those flowers or what have you, they'll work with you there. They'll show you flowers, they'll show you the colours of the flowers and perhaps the time of year. So, you know, that they'll work with you there. If you are you know, if you are able to open your third eye, and if you are able to turn on that TV screen, as I say, and see the tarot card visually in your mind's eye, and see the movement and actually see a scene unfolding and happening, they will work with you there. And if you have knowledge, as I do, as Shannon does, as Janine does, as Julie does, as a lot of people here, in healing, in, you know, holistic wellness, then that's what you're going to be inspired to talk about. That's what they're going to nudge you towards. This girl, for example, this girl needs to work on her self-love, and you get this, you need to work on self-love, and you start to talk about the tools and things that you know are going to benefit her from self-love. And it's not like, right, okay, so these are the 10 things that the textbooks say about self-love. It's like, no, you're going to feel inspired and drawn to techniques that you know, that spirit know that you can articulate, that is going to help this person. And so they, like I said, they work with you where you are. So it doesn't matter how much symbolism you know. Yes, okay, if you know about astrology and astrotheology, perhaps you're going to be drawn to the zodiacal symbols, the planetary symbols, to deliver them in a way in the communication that's relevant. But they meet you where you are, and that's what's so wonderful about this, is that you don't need any prior knowledge of any of this. You just need your own trust that you're receiving, and trust in your own wisdom and wealth of wisdom and things. One thing I was going to talk about today is breaking down symbols, and you know, but we can touch on that next week. But what I would say just briefly about symbols is that you know, is just say what you see what you're first drawn to, and then start to just see what comes to the mind's eye, you know, relating to that. Yes, you know, it's handy to have a little bit of knowledge about the elements, you know, about you know, what the suits mean. And this is why, you know, sitting with and using your tarot deck, even if you just sit and look at the pictures and see what stands out to you without doing a reading, is really important, because it helps you grow your awareness of the symbols that are present, so you can perhaps start to just explore those a little bit. You know, you can enter this with no prior knowledge of symbols, but the more you learn, the more you develop as you go along, you know, the richer your readings and communication is going to be in helping the people for their greatest good that you can. Okay, I really loved today and learnt a lot. Thank you. You're very welcome, Julie. You're very, very welcome indeed. So Next week is going to be the last one of these live series, as I said, because we are going on to Zoom. So make sure in the next week, if any questions do come up that you know that you want me to address, please make a note of them. Perhaps, you know, put them here in the comments of this video so I can write them down for next week, or just send me a direct message so I can jot them down. You know, there's a few things that I wanted just to cover next week already, like you know, talk about the different, you know, we've mentioned the responsibility today already, so I don't think I'll cover that, but you know, we'll talk about the types of messages that you can receive, the different types of psychic awareness that can be awakened and tapped into to do these readings. You know, we talked about wording, but you know, really, what is the message that's trying to get across? I think, you know, and this is something I mentioned, you can go around in circles pointing out symbols, but what is Spirit trying to say? What is the communication? Okay, so that's something that we can talk about next time as well. And yeah, I really just want to use it as an open forum next week to address, a bit like we've done today, I suppose, but address anything that you need assistance with. So perhaps, you know, in the next week, go back and watch any of the replays, have a practice as much as possible with your cards, whether that be readings for yourself or others. Perhaps, you know, if you guys wanted to you know, perhaps do some readings for each other as a practice, but you know, get some practice in and see what questions come up for you. Okay, perhaps go through your cards, see if there's any symbols that you don't understand, and like, how will you approach breaking it down? You know, if you need help, you know, formulating questions, putting questions together, finding spreads, all of that, just ask me questions in the comments below. And whether you're watching this on my website, on YouTube, whether you're watching this as, you know, as a replay in the group, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you've got from this today. If there's anything that you don't agree with, that doesn't resonate with you, let me know, because I love to have discussions around this stuff and different people's experiences. Okay, so Denise said, it's been fabulous. Thank you, my beautiful soul sister. Well, thank you, beautiful soul sister, too. Will you be doing any other series on a Tuesday morning with a mug of tea? Can't make Tuesday nights as I do my online readings on a Tuesday night. So I am, like I said, I am going to be doing mug of tea sessions. It's going to be moving to Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday. And that's where we're going to be doing the spiritual and holistic wellness sessions, diving in deep to all sorts of things, as I said, that are going to be covered in my book. We're going to be looking, you know, at the mind-body connection. We're going to be looking at our energy bodies and, you know, the implications of that. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff. The notes I've got, you know, we're going to be talking about you know, meditation practices, energetic practices you can do, the power of the mind, and how you know, we can reprogram those thoughts. Actually talking about that, you know, going into some quantum physics stuff, going into the research, without wanting to put people off here, but you know, talking about actually how we influence the world around us and what we can do to really get a handle on that, to make a positive impact, but predominantly for our own well-being and our own health. So I hope I've kind of covered that in a way, like, it's going to be really in depth. I'm going to be teaching you a lot of tools that you can use. You know, we're going to be talking about crystals, we're going to be talking about essential oils, we're going to be talking about you know, mama points, acupuncture points, acupressure points, and self-care massage. You know, we're going to be talking about, you know, how you can do massages on yourself, how you can do reflexology on yourself, how you can, you know, bring vibrational medicine into your life, whether you're Reiki tuned or not. We're going to be talking about energetic medicine, and again, some of the research that has gone into that. And, you know, we're going to be talking about other tools and techniques that can use. You know, I'm going to try and talk about tapping, which, you know, I know is Janine's area of expertise, and, you know, possibly sharing some of her videos with you during those 6 weeks. And if there's anything anyone else wants to share that's on that theme of wellness, please do. Now, I'm not going to be stopping my Tarot Tuesday posts. I'm still going to be posting about tarot on Tuesdays. And again, you know, if Tuesday evenings doesn't work for everybody, then you know, we can try and organise a different thing. I mean, yes, while we're in lockdown, you know, perhaps people can do daytimes, but I've had people messaging me that are still working that do want to try and attend these things. And, you know, with Zoom it's slightly different. You can't really watch the replays you can with these sessions. Tapping, yes, yes. Oh, I've just seen that post. I don't know if you said it before or after I mentioned it. Julie says, thanks for today, Hall. See you next week. Keep well. And you, dearest Julie. J Dean says, have to dash, Holly. Thank you for today. Really enjoyed today. Chat soon. Chat soon. Yeah, have a good week, everyone. Have a good week. So I hope that answers everything. If any of you wanted to book some one-to-one services, I know there's a couple of ladies here that are waiting for readings so patiently. Bless you, thank you. I'm going to try my best to. I've got a bit of a waiting list at the moment, but I'm trying to work my way through it as quickly as I can. So if anyone wanted one-to-one reading, you're very, very welcome to book in. If you wanted any details of those, www.hollysholistic.healing.co.uk, and you can find all my details there. If you don't already, go and follow my YouTube channel where you'll get my readings and other trainings that are getting uploaded onto there. Every Thursday I have my soul-centered meditation sessions, again soon to be on YouTube as well. And I can't remember what else I wanted to mention. Follow me on Instagram. I love it. At holistic_Holly. Please, if you know anyone who would benefit from this group or anything that I've got coming up, please add them. And, you know, just let people know that I'm here and I'm trying to be of assistance. So Shannon says you can record Zoom and post it, by the way. Yes, I do know. I do know that. What I meant from that perspective is that, you know, people are not going to be getting the practice themselves if they're not actually on the live. And, you know, some people might not feel comfortable having that shared if, you know, it might be nerve-wracking for people, so we'll just have to see how people feel about being recorded and having that recording shared. But maybe, you know, we can record it and share it amongst the people that attended. Absolutely, definitely, I will do that. And Janine says she loved her reading, so much coming to fruition. That's really good. Your reading was wicked as well. I loved it. It was so exciting. So yeah, wherever you are, thank you so much for being here, and I really, really appreciate your time and energy. If you're catching the replay, I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, do let me know in the comments, and I look forward to catching up and seeing you all soon. So yeah, take care, have a really, really great week, my friends, and yeah, love, light, many blessings. Namaste, and bye for now. Bye.